A lot of people are ignorant. They don't know anything. Stark illiterates everywhere. And for saying it loud, it is for a reason. Ndị nzuzu bụ ndị juru na ihe a na-eme. Mana mụnwa apụtago m ga-agwa gị nke ahụ ị na-achọrọ ịnụ maka na ya bụ ndidi m nwere. Ọ karịgo. Ndị oyibo si na enwere elastic limit for everything. O wee bụrụ ya ma na-asụ Igbo na-asụ oyibo ka o wee danasị ya. Ka ya bụ ife anyị bịara ime ka o wee nwee isi. Isikwa na ome enwe isi ọgụ amasịkwa ife ifuru iwelu. Ya bụ na anyị na-ekwu maka Biafra. Biafra bụ adopted name for the old eastern region. Ọ bụrụ na ịchọ ịchọkwara ịnụ ijekwu isi n'aja. Ọ bụ eziokwu. And there is something in a name. When a group of people come together and agree to answer any name, there is nothing anybody can do about it. That is why there is nothing anybody can do about Biafra. And once the people have agreed that this is their name, one Nigerians and na Biafra bụ fraud, Biafra fraud nka ajụjụ na-ajụ ndị dị otu a ha mana ha na-aghọrị onwefa. Nigeria obodo gịnị? Ọ bụrụ na Biafra bụ fraud, Nigeria is a mega fraud because Nigeria is an adopted name. And for even crying out loud, if you look at the history of Nigeria, you'll be sorry for yourselves. So all these opportunities coming out, telling you, Biafra, and about Biafra, where Biafra existed for almost 3 years. Biafra and Abu fraud, madam was say maka Biafra. Whether you like it or not, there was a country. Udo dilo na yuku buchinwa achebe. Ebe obono ono ogadele na mma. There was a country. This is an irrefutable fact, and there is nothing anybody can do about it. So these opportunists put us in na akọwara gị na Biafra bụ fraud. No, obviously one Nigeria. No, Nigeria cannot. Nigeria is a mega fraud in the real sense of it, because so many people, so many ethnic nationalities were brought together without agreement. You have a common knowledge. So, abankiti etu ọdịka ko mando pụtazie na-akọzi maka akụkọ history of Biafra war. Ọkwa ndị a na-amụrụ during the war ha pụtazie na-akọziri gị kọkarịa ndị n'ụwa agha Biafra, ma ndị dere akwụkwọ na-asị asị dị iche iche. Ndị dere akwụkwọ na-asị na ndị mmadụ na-asị asị, mana asị nke ha karịsịrị asị dị n'ụwa. O nwere ndị dere akwụkwọ wee na-akọ rubbish about Biafra war. Ojukwu ji wee sịkwa ha, Ojukwu ji wee ghara ịsị ha, Ojukwu wee mara ụma wee kọsa Biafra war. These are badadash. Asị ọcha. Ojukwu na-amazi ụma akọsụ Biafra war. Ọ bụrụ na ọ mụ makọsụ Biafra war, ndị mmadụ will be against him. The war wouldn't have gone ahead. And then whether ma ọ bụ ndị Igbo military officers that caused that initiated the first coup in Nigeria or not, the fact is that thousands of people were massacred before the issue of Biafra war came up. Ndị North ị na-ege defend. Ndị Arewa unu na-defend. Na Igbo Tafawa Balewa. I am not in any way in support of the military coup that went to, that happened, that led to the killings of some northern political leaders. But Oburo Sunday Igbo, Bundume, participating at the coup in the first place. What happened was a military affair. Obo that na Igbo military officers, Bulu, the northern military officers and their leaders, why didn't the northerners go and fish out those who killed their leaders rather than massacring innocent, unarmed civilian population? Do you see where these guys that are talking about Igbo military coup and the rest of it, and then as a result justifying the massacring of thousands, if not millions of people from the eastern region? This is before the war. Why didn't the northern military officers or the northerners go after those who carried the coup? Why didn't they go and attack Igbo military officers as well? So there is no justification for the killings, the massacre. It was a genocide. It was crime against humanity. And there's no justification for that. And for avoidance of doubt, Biafra war was a war that was brought against our people. It was a war to defend the genocide that was unleashed on our people. So anybody born after the war telling you about the history of Biafra, oh yeah, I got you something, the same way Osi make claim na fraudulent people na mere nke ama ọzọ ka ya nwasikwa achọ ị na-eli ndị ọzọ by telling lies and penning it down. Desperation is a karma and it will destroy. So let me recap. Anybody saying that Biafra is a fraud, look into that person's life and history of that person. Any group of people telling you that Biafra is a fraud and that they are now Nigerians and they are defending Nigeria, those people are not true to themselves. Because Nigeria is a mega fraud in the real sense of it. Those who identify as Biafrans must have their heads high up in the sky. They must carry themselves jealously and confidently too. And there is nothing anybody can do about the issue, about the fact that Biafra was a country. And now, let me now come into the issue that concerns Biafra itself. We have looked into the journey on Biafra restoration or effort, project so far. And we have seen, even though we knew before, that there are our people, the people of the old Eastern region, other nations that were in the old Eastern region, otherwise known as Biafra, are applying delay tactics. They are unwilling. They don't want to join in restoration of Biafra. In any event, if you talk about they are joining the restoration of Biafra, they will, cook up one or two or reasons or excuses. They will want you to come and beg and negotiate. Despite all that, sensitization has been made, formal and informal conversations have been made, and the same former nations of Biafra remain recalcitrant. And what is happening is that the Igbo nation have been at the forefront of championing the cause for the restoration of Biafra. And in the process, many people are dying. Many people are dying. And then, upon that, day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, for several decades, we keep waiting. We keep hoping that something will get better. And alas, more and more people are dying. We are waiting for our brothers who are citizens or indigenous of the former nation of Biafra to come up. And for avoidance of doubt, at this particular point in time, it is very clear that they are not willing. Because na ima se mmadụ ọ bụrụ kịta na anyị dị ụmụ nwoke ịnọmọ ise anyị wee nwa anyị obi ima se nụ mmadụ ya bịa chọba anyị obi ebe ọ ma ebe anyị obi dị ịghọtago. So na ọ bụrụ that na enwelu anyị na-aga ihe in good faith, our brothers in the South must not wait for anybody to come and persuade them to come up and join the Biafra restoration. Having said that, there were a lot of stories during the Biafra war, and I am not here to apportion blame or to exonerate one person or the other. O nwere ihe ụmụnna anyị nọ na South mere. O nwekwara ihe ụmụnna anyị bụ ndị Igbo nọ na Southeast mostly today mere. And this thing must be traced back to the prosecutors of the war, to the administrators of the old Eastern region. However, all that na Ejiophobia and that na Biafra. We want freedom. Nobody will wait for this long, decade after decade, to be begged to come into Biafra restoration project. The Biafra agitation, Biafra restoration project is a legitimate project. It's a legitimate cause, for avoidance of doubt. It is open to debate for anybody. But what I'm trying to say is that those who are genuinely standing on the platform of Biafra must stand firm. However, onye ọbụla na-eme ife gbasara ihe Biafra aka ya ga-adị ọcha. Ọ bụrụ na aka gị adịrị ọcha, ahụ ga-eme gị. Ma ndị na-ebu ebubo, ma ndị na-asị asị na-asịkpodo ndị ọzọ, ahụ ga-eme unu nche niile. I've gotten so many comments here. Madam may respond to some of them. Ndị ala ka unu bụ. Ịghọtago? Abịara m ikwu okwu maka ihe gbasara nwere onwe, self-determination, Biafra self-determination. And I can assure you, this is not about bragging. Not many of you can stand me on the issue of self-determination. And as it regards Biafra, when it comes to the framework, we must get it right. And you must have to fight a good cause. We cannot come out and say that we are going for freedom, self-determination of our people, and then all of a sudden, some people will turn around and begin to slaughter, kill their fellow brothers and sisters. IPONC, IPOB, unknown gunmen, Biafra Republic government in exile, autopilot, ESN, Vranukunuji, Budeben Umu Igbo, Ihabo Alukalu. And this is an obstacle against you in the direction you are going. The forces of heaven and earth will continue to pursue all of you who are responsible for the slaughtering, for the massacring of innocent Igbo Biafran sons and daughters on the streets of Igbo land, and in cold blood, and in peacetime. There is no justification. That is why I will be against all of you. It doesn't matter whom you are. Makande na say, uche me for ya ga ebeli isi ga eme nke ala nkịta tapịakwa ya ihe ebe ahụ. Maka inwere isi nara anwụ. Dala. Kedu ka, just imagine in this world, a lot of criminals have come out, perpetrators of all manner of heinous crime against humanity, monumental human rights abuses. Yet, you are shouting Biafra, but you're turning around to kill your own people, the people you are supposed to protect. Nonsense. Just so angry. Just so angry with all of you. At the end of the day, the worst aspect is that all these people saying all these things, Facebook, the real account, just like me. But I can assure you, in fullness of time, I will go home. Itu ansi ekwu isi mu uche mefo na ị na-eche ka chi were ife ji ebe ị nọ. Nke abụrụ bragging. So many things to talk about. So many things to talk about. But let me just take it gradually. The issue of Biafra is legitimate. However, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. And for you to begin to talk about self-determination, there are frameworks. It is not even a very easy issue. Self-determination, haburo okwa bangadanya. Ihe gbasara nwere onwe aburo kanjekwa apụta. Agi fisa na abunaya. So like I said, sensitization has been done. The next phase is to do the real work. Mana ị na-alụ nya bụ ọlụ, ị ga-agba mbọ fụ na iji ihe kwesịrị iji akụrụngwa gị. Ọ bụrụ just na-agbagharị. Ka atụrụ na-enwere onye nche. Ọ bụ ya bụ nsogbu anyị nọ ya. Enwere a lot of ndị isi ma ndị pụtara nsef na-epose na ha bụ ihe abụrụ ọzọ. Unu ewesigo my time because I have tried my best to tell our people what the issues are. The issue of self-determination are two. It's either it is internal self-determination, in which case you have to seek for the group seeking for that self-determination. We have to seek for their own autonomy, political, economic, and social development within an existing state. That is where you have something like federalism, something like regionalism, something like confederal arrangement. Just like the way we are in Nigeria. There is some form of internal self-determination, but there is an obstacle because the Nigerian state is not allowing the people to have their say. What our people want, among other things, if we are to remain in Nigeria, is regional arrangement or confederal arrangement. The Nigerian state has blocked everything. And so, coupled with historical injustice during the war, our people have been massacred, genocide has been meted on our people. Crime against humanity has been directed against our people. So nobody can tell our people how they are going to cry. So our people in the South, from my own investigation, and it is open to debate, are simply applying delay tactics, delaying this quest for self-determination? Or is it because Ndi Igbo are at the forefront? Some of them have come up and say, Ndi Igbo are doing this thing because they are looking for oil. Some say that during Ojuku's time, there were a lot of injustice against our people. I have heard some stories, but the question is, General Ojuku's time is different from our own time. Some of the people that may have done something against our people in the South, if at all the story that they are telling is correct, must have gone. Some of them are not living again. It's just like some of our brothers, non-Caribbean, when they come, they say, they give this impression that you people sold us into slavery. How can I be responsible for what I don't know? The same thing applies to the South region, to the nations in the South that have made up Biafra. How can you be blaming the present generation of Igbos if their brothers and sisters and uncles did something? How can you then, as a result of it, you forget your heritage, if at all you're serious about restoration of Biafra? The question is, for how long are we going to wait for you to get ready? Meanwhile, as we are waiting, Igbo youths are being slaughtered. So when you chase when the Igbo ni ne when the Igbos of the Southeast, we have unchazial, pota, it can no longer happen. We have taken a decision that the best way forward, since the former nations of Biafra are unwilling to join hands in the restoration effort, is for each and every of these nations to go about their separate quests for self-determination. And well, Ijo Biafran, there are Ijo Biafran, there are Efik Biafrans, there are Ibibio Biafrans, there are Egala, the rest of them. There are Anang Biafrans, there are Igbo Biafrans. Let these people go about their separate quests for self-determination, pursuing their own variant of self-determination. It could be internal self-determination, in which case they want to remain in Nigeria, seeking for autonomy, seeking for regional arrangement, or even remain the way they are. Or they find their way outside Nigeria, seeking their own independence without Nigeria. That is what the Igbo nation should do. They have to decide whether they want to remain in Nigeria, in which case they have to seek for greater autonomy within Nigeria, either regional system of government or in a confederal arrangement. Or they negotiate their future without Nigeria and outside Nigeria, in which case it is independent. So anybody faulting Igbo Biafra self-determination must be hallucinating. Isi adoro ya mama ndala unu na ya apụgharị ndị ihe na-ajụdụ ndị a na ha asị bụ a na-epụtasị Biafra, you betrayed us. Who betrayed you? Achọwa jekwu unu nna unu ukwu. How I wish ndị a na-asị na enyere uche mefe ego, how I wish na ebunyere m this money. Ndala epụta na-eti Biafra kedu dị territory Biafra anyị na-achọ, ebe ndị gị na ha na-eme maka unu ha na-eme Biafra, o nwere onye kweta anyị achọ ịbụ Biafra. For how long then will you do it? When are you going to get your freedom? As long as there is no agreement among the former component nations of Biafra, the Jaws, the Ibibios, the Efik, the Anang, Somigala, and the Igbos, as long as there is no one mind, no agreement to restore Biafra, Biafra of 1967 to 1970 is dead and buried. It's not possible to restore it. Because when you are talking about restoration of Biafra, you are talking about going back to how the old Eastern region was, and then making everybody to come together. Ajụjụ na-ajụ unu. Ụmụ ebu na-akụ ajụ everywhere. Ajụjụ na-ajụ unu bụ, kedu ndị Ijọ, kedu ndị Ibibio, kedu ndị Anai, kedu ndị Efi, kedu ndị Igala so n'ije a na-aga? Unu ji asị uche mefọ mere nke a ma ọzọ. I am not in your league. Anaghị ama hapụchakwa ahụ na nọ na social media. Dala. Kedu ndị a unu na-asị oh you did not remember our people in from the south and the rest of it. They called a number of people. Ajụjụ na-ajụ unu bụ, show me the people that are in this Biafra restoration effort from the southern from the south. Show me any other people apart from ndị Igbo. Therein lies the problem. And therein lies the question. For how long will the lives of Igbo youth be wasted? Tell our people, for our people in the south to wake up. Unu afro na unu ncha niile ga-anwụ sisi. Biafra for nwere onwe for restoration for n'isoro aka ndị be anyị nọ na south ji aga. Delay tactics. Ha just gbanye everybody nkịtị. Itigosi Biafra tie enu tie Biafra tie ha agba unu nkịtị tenten kpọmkpọm. So ihe na-agwa unu nke a abụrụ prophecy but a reasonable prediction. All of you calling Uche full name, unu ga-eji isi unu wee bụ. All of you will die off waiting for our brothers in the south to restore Biafra, to join you. And more importantly, some of you are hypocrites. Mana ihe na-agwa unu tata bụ, whether you like it or not, you must listen to the proposal and the decision that we have taken. Unless monoboro nwere onwe ka ị na-azụ. But perhaps out of jealousy, maka uche mefọ kwu ya, uche mefọ mee nke ama ọzọ. Onwe ndị nọ ebe ha nọ sị, hey, why would it be uche mefọ that said this thing? Uche mefọ should take the back seat. Ala ka ngara ị na-akpụ n'iyi ebe a. Maka without marrow, we don't know the resolve here. It is either, especially our people who are from Igbo part of Biafra land, it is either that you embrace Igbo nation self-determination, or you continue to deceive yourselves and continue to go around in circles, taking territories in the south on paper, but not in reality, and eventually continue to go around in circle until you fizzle away. It is either Igbo Biafra self-determination, in which case emancipation of an Igbo nation state, an Igbo, or ebe ha focus gade, ebe ha konanya anyị gade. If, however, our people in the south decide to join the struggle, our brothers, our Igbo-speaking brothers in the south, if they decide through democratic process, it could be referendum, it could be Ogbako Umunna, ha decide that, then all of us will go together. But we cannot wait for anybody any longer. For how many years, decades have we stayed waiting? So first of all, a na-ekwu ihe Biafra, ejide ndị Igbo na-asụ akwụ. How many of our brothers and sisters in the south have been slaughtered in this present dispensation of Biafra agitation? Ihe a ka ị ga na-ajụ onwe gị. A na-egbusisi ụmụ Igbo, ndị ọzọ nọdụ ebe ha nọ na-atachi ngọn. Ikwuo maka Biafra na-eti mkpu tintin kpọmkpọm. So mgbe unu nwụsịsịzi ya iwe nweta Biafra ezi mgbe unu nwụsịsịzi ya ka ha ga-ekunite. So a wise man, wise people must look back, look front. Ọ bụrụ na Biafra bụ afịa akpọba akpọba, orugo mgbe anyị akwa ya. Ọ bụrụ na Biafra bụ afịa akpọba akpọba, orugo mgbe anyị ga-ama ma na-aga iru ma na-aga azụ. Anụ ya ma bụ ihe anyị mere. Ihe anwa unu a na-achọrọ ịnụ onwego ndụ mere ya. And unu na-efe isi kpaka kpaka, ya ga-ebutere all of you njọ afịa. Anaghị ama ama. Unu a na-asịdị na a na-ahapụ our brothers in the south and something like that. Sit at home unu na-eme. Kedu ihe kpatara na unu ahụ eme sit at home na Ijoland? Unu anaghị eme na Efik speaking areas. Unu anaghị eme na other places. Kedu ihe kpatara na unu anaghị eme sit at home? Unu anaghị eme woto na south dala. Ọ bụ gịnị kpatara unu anaghị eme ede? So ihe a bụ ajụjụ unu ga na-ajụ onwe unu. Ọ bụrụ because na uche mefe okwu ya. Ntaji anya enwere ego oge ebuchere, mana ịchọkwa ihe ịtaji ị na-ataji o, ị na-akụrụ isi n'aja. Mụnwa na-aga ebe na-aga o. So nsogbu dị n'ihe a na-eme. A lot of ignorance, stack one, have dealt us so much blows. So m ga-aga n'iru ka m gụpụta some of the guidelines on the issue of Nwelonwe, on the issue of self-determination. Our people disappointed me because I even thought that most of our people knew about this whole thing. Even when I say it and pen it down, nobody listens to it. Muama Abuze, part of Anacho Biafra, na-ekwepara isi, arrogance and the rest of it. Ị na-eche onye ga-ekwu ekwugonian. So that is it. For Biafra to be restored, Biafra will need to meet several criteria and demonstrate specific circumstances to assert its right to self-determination or remedial secession from Nigeria. And this must be based on international principles. In addition to meeting the criteria for Montevideo Declaration, which is for any state, any group of people to meet the criteria for statehood. Anokata na-akpọ unu a country, anokata akpọ unu obodo, imagokwulo onwe independent nation. You must have to meet certain criteria. Oboro out of blues ka ọ ga-apụta. You must have defined territory. A ga-enwe ebe a ga-asị na unu na-azọ ọ bụrụ nke unu. Ama na-azọ ebe ahụ azọ, for instance. A ga-enwe concentration. Ebe unu nwere concentration, ọ ya bụ achọba unu, ndubu na afọ unu. You must have settled population. A ga-enwe ndị bi ebe ahụ. Enwe ndị ọya apụtasị na ndị a bụ ndị dị etu a, ndị a bụ ndị dị etu a. For instance, apụtasị na ndị Igbo bi ebe a, ndị Ijo bi ebe a, ebe a bụ Anifa, ebe a bụ ebe ha nwe. Ịghọtago? So, you must have capacity to enter into international relations with other countries. Meaning, unu elected representatives. Enwere ndị nọ na gọọmenti ga-eje na-ekwuchitere unu, ọya abụ ndị mba ụwa chọọ ikwu okwu. Achọba ndị ahụ. Ọ bụrụ ndị na-eme woto. Ọ bụrụ ndị na-eme that are on brigandage, killing their fellow brothers and sisters. You are out of the periphery. You are at best terrorists and criminals. That is what the international community will be looking at you for. Will be regarding people as. That is why it is very important that our people embrace the democratic process. You must have effective government. There must be a government in place. So, ime mkpọtụ megodu mkpọtụ niile mee anyị ihe a ga na regard unu bụ a ga na regard unu as protest group. Unu nwere ike mechiche ezi niile mechie afịa niile mmadụ agha ga n'ezi agha nụrụ unu ife. But at the end of the day, protest group ka unu bụ maka unu anọrọ na government. And small minority of people were elected ndị Abuja tinye na bai ga na-etake decision n'isi unu. And what ihe unu ga-eme? Ọ karịkwa emechaa the worst thing you need, they are killing us. Woto ndị ala akụ iri. So ọ bụrụ na ndị be anyị ma ife ihe a unu na-ezuzu, since anyị ji wee kwube, let us take over political control in Biafra land, at least Igbo land. It's very easy. Ebe Biafra agitators can come out and tell their own people, stay at home for a particular thing. They can as well sit at home to get what they want in Biafra land. For instance, they can warn politicians in Biafra land, do not come out and vie for any political office if you are not for the good of our people. When you have game, Obo na Haju use those civil disobedience, bring them to a halt. Man Obo nke ije bule we boyaliva na agara na ebutisi umunun. I believe in self-defense. Legitimate self-defense. If you have weapon, inwe wenamma, they be igeji, they be weli echelo onwagi. Man Obo ije na atagari na acho umunne unu ga-ebe isi. Na-achọ ndị unu ga-ekidnap maka agwa unu na-akpa arụ agwa eji enweta obodo ọbụla a na-achọ achọ. Because ndị be anyị kwesịrị demonstrate that they have the capacity to govern themselves. Mana nke a ihe anyị na-afụ ndị oshi na ndị ama onye ọbụla obulu egbe na-agagharị buru mma na-agagharị na-atụkpodo ndị ọzọ asị na etu a ka unu ga-esi wee nweta nwere ọnwụnwa a na-achọ. So when it comes to guidelines, when it comes to getting the framework right, I am not God, I'm not all-knowing, but I can hold my own. Ihe na-eme anyị bụ na ya nara achọ iso n'uso. There is no way you can get independence or freedom without political process, whether you like it or not. Because self-determination is about politics itself. You need to get people in power to take decision. So, igbachasịa ị ga-anachi ya takwazụ. Isigodo na ọka ije n'ụwa ọgụ n'ụba agha. Ị na-gosi ịnụsigodo agha, you must have people in power that will be speaking on your behalf. You can't talk to the members of the international community as a terrorist, as a lawbreaker, or as a perpetrator of injustice or genocide or crime against humanity against your people. You must be dreaming if you are doing all this. That is why we are calling on all these people. Na ha akọghịrị woto nkewa. Ma ndị na-delegitimize the Nigerian government in Biafra land. All need to delegitimize the Nigerian government. Go military target to military target. But before you do it, you must have to get your framework right. Where are you? Where is your territory? Because na ndị ijosi ga-abatakwa na be ha, ndị ibibia sị ga-abatakwa na be ha, ndị efika sị ga-abatakwa na be ha. Kedụzi Biafra ya na-azọ? That is why you have to pause for a while and get your framework right. Because a disputed territory cannot gain independence. If you don't want to know it today. So, the basic thing is that if you want independence or if you want external self-determination, you must qualify as a state. You must have the ingredients of state. You must have your economy, your administration, human rights record, governmental structures must be in place. Ajụjụ na-ajụ Biafra agitators today where are we? Which way Biafra? Ochiche, I am not on there. Territory, we cannot define it. The government, we cannot. No, we just name and non, but that is why when I talk, people that say, you're against Biafra, you're against which Biafra? Ignorant, hallucinating minds will be telling me that I'm against Biafra. You are against us. Who are you to start with? Who are you? The supreme liar. Because I have said this in several times. I've discussed with him now. I've told him, both officially and unofficially. I even penned this thing down. What do you want? And then when patients say to okay, majority, the ignorant majority, we always carry the day. You know, they are not Ganaga. MSC Agoya Nisoha, you are part of them and all that. That's fine. But it is not as you're saying it. IPOB, when IPOB was IPOB, had got to a level where they would have politically take over Biafra land. When I mean Biafra land this time around, I'm talking about Igbo land. And even as it is, if not that they have gone out to spill the blood of their fellow Biafrans, it is still possible. So until you people come back to Igbo Biafra self-determination, which is the reason why we're saying Igbo Biafra is for people to understand which part of Biafra are going for this self-determination. Because otherwise, it is not only the Igbos that are Biafrans. Ijo Biafrans, Efik Biafrans, Anam Biafrans, Efik, and the rest of them. Shut up. Because you cannot impeach what I'm saying. At the end of the day, all of you must come back, especially those from the southeast, all those from Igbo part of Biafra land, southeast part. You must come back to this, unless it's not freedom or rather self-determination that you are looking for. First of all, the Igbo Gacho negotiate with the Nigerian state about their future. If the Nigerian state can rectify their anomalies, including the obnoxious 5 states given to the Igbos, the Southeast, including historical, monumental injustice, the killings, the maimings of Igbo, Biafra, men and women, the monumental human rights abuses, and pay reparation, and then give the Igbos greater autonomy. It could be regional arrangement, it could be confederal. Then the only option left for the Igbos is to seek their future outside Nigeria. But this is a process. So let me go back. There are so many things to talk about here, but all if we go about the fact that there are things that Biafra, if Biafra as an entity, as a people, if they qualify as a people, must seek for self-determination or remedial secession from Nigeria, they must prove, they will need to demonstrate that its people, the people of Biafra, are denied meaningful access to participate in government or pursue their political, economic, social, and cultural development in Nigeria. If you want to go out of Nigeria, you must have to prove this thing. Now, the question I want to ask now, who are the people of Biafra that will prove this thing now? Make una tell me the people of Biafra we are talking about that will prove to the members of the international community that they are being oppressed. Yeah? They should be able to prove and demonstrate evidence of consistent and flagrant human rights violations, massive underrepresentation in government, or the absence of representation in an undemocratic, discriminatory manner. Ngwa, ndị na-asị na uche mefe mere nke a ma ọzọ. Ajụjụ m na-ajụ unu bụ ihe a na-ekwu ebe a bụ na for you to convince members of international community that you are justified in separating yourself from Nigeria or seeking an autonomy in Nigeria, you must have to prove that Nigeria has done something wrong to our people. And then in this case, we are talking about Biafra. Wow. Who are these people of Biafra? Because, let me say this, who are the people of Biafra to prove oppression, underrepresentation, human rights violations? Who are these people that will prove it? Our people of Biafra. And when we mean people of Biafra, we mean people of the old Eastern region. Biko kọwalụ nọ ebe a na-emegbu ndị Igbo emegbu. Anara emegbu ndị Ijo. Anara emegbu ndị Ibibio. Anara emegbu ndị Efik. Biko gwazianụ the people of Biafra that are being oppressed. Yet, ndị a unu na ha si wee bụrụ Biafra. Onye pụta ọ na-ọkwa ntị gbamgbam na-atachi ngọm. A na-egbusisi ụmụ Igbo. Do you see where the continued ideology and mentality of waiting for every part of Biafra to come on board, where they are not willing, is dangerous? And will lead you to your death. Because all of you guys, I ain't telling you guys, yet, Dubai, no na South, so for you to exit from Nigeria, you have to prove that nane emebu ge emebu. Bikono, since eji na-eme ihe Biafra, kedu na ndị a na-egbu? At least this present dispensation of Biafra, kedu na ndị a na-egbu? Ọbara a na-akwafu na ana Igbo, akwafulie na ana Ijo, akwafulie na Igwe Ọcha, akwafulie na Efik speaking area, akwafulie na Anan speaking area. Do you see why it is difficult to restore Biafra of 1967 to 1970? Because ndị ọzọ nọ na mma, unu nwa bụ ndị Igbo bụ ndị a na-emegbu emegbu. Kedụzi ka ihe esi wee prove na a na-emegbu ndị Biafra emegbu? Ifugo na ndị a ha ma ihe ha na-eme. Achọrọ ka ụmụ Igbo na-anwụsịsị ihe ata ya na-eti maka Biafra. Yet, nobody will come out. That is it. So, the people of Biafra must qualify as a people. Biafran people must qualify as a people. If you don't qualify as a people, and if your people are not being victimized, Obuno is also a part of Biafra. For instance, in the southeast, na south. Then Biafra in trouble a mirage. Till that kingdom come. Another one a bido. So yeah, be who kwesi bunante makande na akoleri. I mean munebuli nobi makande na akoleri. The people of Biafra would have to prove that there are exceptional circumstances that prevent them from exercising their right to internal self-determination, such as flagrant human rights violations and underrepresentation in governance. Bikono, among all the former component nations of Biafra, kedeno ndị a na-akpọ n'ọnụ na Nigeria? Ọkwanụ sọ ndị Igbo, a na-akpọ ndị Ijo, a na-akpọ ndị Efik, a na-akpọ ndị Ibibio. Ndị a nọ na mmanụ. Kedeno ndị a na-underrepresent na Nigeria? Ndị South nwere 6 states. Ndị Southeast nwere 5. Some other northern part nwere 6 and 7. So ndị Igbo bụ ndị a na-akpagbu n'ihe a na-eme. And you know what it means? It makes the Igbos underrepresentation na 5 states enyere ndị Igbo. Ihe ọ pụtara bụ na ndị Igbo will have least number of senators, this number of House of Rep members, this number of local government areas, and as such, this number of allocation of resources. More importantly, on where any bill unu ga-pass na on the floor of Senate or on the floor of National Assembly without the support of other regions. Do you see why the Igbos have been enslaved in Nigeria? Do you see why this injustice is an apartheid It's of apartheid nature. Do you see why the Igbos are permanent minorities by this shortchanging in number of states? And then when we are talking about it, people are dismissing it or talking rubbish. We have said this, and we have called on the political leaders in Igbo land to take on this case very seriously. And we appreciate what Ohaneze Ndị Igbo has done so far. But it's not yet enough. Before you go out of Nigeria, you must have to prove that you have exhausted all the local remedies. For instance, engage the Nigerian government, senators, House of Rep members, on the floor of National Assembly. Vote you down. Obia behind insists when we're talking about go into political process. Or for the say we have nothing to do with Nigeria. We have nothing. Let me tell you something. Going to vote, getting into democratic process to vote does not mean that you're going to win. We know that they are going to rig you out. But let them rig you out. You record it as an evidence, as a build-up to what you're going to do. Our people are not calling. We know that in Nigeria, our people should gather themselves. All this get into the political process. If possible, gun yourself into power. Political activists. You think you win Nigeria in war with stolen guns and ammunition? And worst part of it, do you think that you're going to get what you're looking for by killing your own people and hoping to blame the enemy? Because if you people stop killing our people, I'll stop talking. But as long as you are doing this, I won't shut up. And there is consequences for that. Now, I gain evidence that I participate in government. Then I chop why. That is why Peter Obi's presidential ambition, I supported it. Because it is one of the records, including all the statements that some politicians are making from different parts of the country. These are evidence of discrimination against the Igbos in Nigeria, that they are not wanted in Nigerian government. The least number of senators, least number of House of Rep members is an evidence of underrepresentation, because Nigeria has not conducted herself in accordance with principle of equal rights. They have targeted a particular part of the population and they have been oppressing them. If our people, including lawyers and politicians, can articulate all these things, and as a result of this move for secession from Nigeria, there is nobody that will blame them. But they cannot be doing this thing blindly. We need to take over the political control of our land. It's simple as that. First, it must succeed immediately. But persistent, sustained effort will dislodge these rogue politicians from power. So that they die somewhere. If you are in power, there is no way anybody will call you a terrorist. Rather, they will say political opponent. Our politicians in Biafra land, and especially in Igbo land, must be given marching orders, not necessarily attacking them. This sit at home and should be put in a very useful way. It should be utilized. You sit at home to enforce good governance. You sit at home to get your people into political office, especially in Igbo land. Ogo ana ano ihe na eme abụchaghị ihe egbe na mma. Because since they have blocked Abuja, because we are underrepresented. When we get our people in power, the whole Southeast, the whole state in the Southeast, the whole state assembly can pass a bill democratically. Of course, democratic, I know. Democratically, they pass a bill in the House and say, we want to be autonomous within Nigeria in the first place, or we want to go outside Nigeria. Or what do you hear Nigerian government again? Because he have a democratic process. What they will do is to come for negotiation. But I don't know how I'll be explaining it to our people. When you say they will, I've never seen this kind of thing. So these things you people are using to kill your own fellow Igbos and all that, you should direct your effort towards political office and get in there and begin to take decisions by yourselves and for yourselves. As long as you are outside the political circle, you are on the periphery and you remain a protest group. And no matter the amount of noise you make, small minority of politicians in power will be taking decisions that will be affecting you, and there's nothing you can do. Now, let me move forward. I still have a lot of things. I just want to prove to our people, especially those ignorant lords that are talking nonsense, that look, the issue of self-determination is not a child's play. And you cannot challenge me on what I have put and win me on that, unless you have a superior argument. But what we have now, our people in the South are not willing to join Biafra. And before you know it, ndị Igbo ga-anwụsịsị, yet Biafra abịarọ. Ndị Igbo kwesịrị ịzọba isi onwe ha, ndị Ijaw zọba isi onwe ha, ndị Ibibio zọba isi onwe ha, ndị Efik zọba isi onwe ha, ndị Anang zọba isi onwe ha, Igala and the rest of them. Mbosi decide na anyị ga-anọkọ na ya anọkọ. It will come naturally. Ka anyị debe ihe a na ayo. But we have taken a lot of time. So, Biafra, we have to prove that there are exceptional circumstances that prevent them from exercising their right to internal self-determination, such as flagrant violations of human rights and underrepresentation in governance. Ajụjụ na-ajụ unu bụ, ndị Ibibio had underrepresented because ha nọ na South, ha nwere 6 states or more. Ndị Ijaw had underrepresented. Ụmụnne anyị ndị Rivers, the Rivers had underrepresented the government. They are not. The only people who are underrepresented are Ndi Igbo, the Southeast. That is why Obasaroha yenemu na Obasaroha. Ajụjụ na-ajụkwa unu wee bụrụ, since eji emegbu ndị Igbo bikono, kedu ihe ụmụnne anyị ndị nọ n'ofe ọzọ, the other side, South na-ekwu maka ndị Igbo a na-emegbu. Onye ọbụla were iri ego ezi ọnụ. Ihe m nwa nọ bụ egbebere ugobelu. Ndị ọbụla zọba n'isi onwe ha. Ndị ọbụla zọba isi onwe ha. Mgbọsị a ga-akpụnya m afọ ọnụ. Mgbọsị a ga-akpụnya m isi ka akpụkọrọ ya m afọ ọnụ ma ndị ọzọ. Biafra, we have to show compliance with declaration of friendly relation. Biafra, we need to ensure that the pursuit of self-determination or secession does not threaten the territorial integrity or political entity of Nigeria, especially if Nigeria is acting in compliance with self-determination principles and possesses a government that is representing the entire of its population without discrimination. Among all the former component nations of Biafra, Ibibio, Efik, Igbo, Anang, name them. Manduba inda nioma. Kedu ndị Nigeria they discriminate against or have underrepresented? In good faith, then and among all the former component nations of Biafra. So ndị Igbo ka ejide na-ata. Ndị ọzọ na-enwere onwe ha aṅụrị. And nwere onye chọrọ ịma. So, Nigeria is not operating the principle of equal right because it has targeted a particular part of the population and incapacitated them. O mere ndị Igbo na Nigeria jeje adị mma na adị mma. So ihe anyị nọzi bụ ka anyị wee make up numbers. So when I argue about Igbo Biafra self-determination, I know what I'm talking about. And it is more advantageous that ndị Igbo fight for here. Ụfọdụ ya pụta sị Igbo dị landlocked. Also ndị Igbo bụ ndị dị landlocked. Even if it not happen na Nigeria, zọọnụ maka regional arrangement, zọọnụ maka ka ihe dịrị ndị Igbo mmanụ. Zọọnụ ka enye n'unu equal number of states enyere ndị ọzọ. Zọọnụ ka enye n'unu equal number of representatives ndị ọzọ nwe. Ọ gịnị dị ka a na-akọ n'ihe nke a biko? So now fair, now among all the former component nations of Biafra, ndị ọzọ nọ si na mma sọsọ ndị Igbo ka ejide na-ata ntagbu na-egbukwu mgbufu ụmụnne unu agba nkịtị unu a na-anwụ. Ya bụ na mụnwa ọ bụrụ na mụnwa bụ Uche Mefọ esolu ma unu ncha niile anyị so na-eche ụmụnna anyị ga-anwụsịsị ụmụ anyị etonitekwu onwukwuo. Ọ bụrụ na unu daụta amụ n'ihe m na-ekwu ka ndị Igbo zọwa n'isi onwe ha ka unu ofu ihe ga-eme. You come back and ask IPOB stand on an agitation. Kedu agitation under IPOB in the present time? Kedu agitation? I'm just asking you. Or no Jerry Okoro or Jerry in Canada ka ebe. You can't jeopardize IPOB. Can I ask you? I want you to come. Let us debate. Let's talk about these things. Can you tell me IPOB stand on this agitation? What is IPOB standing on? Yeah? As it is today, IPOB is a protest group. It's as simple as that. Because they have failed to take opportunity and their chances when it matters. Your Supreme Lion Nnamdi Kanu cannot deny the proposals I made. Some of the members of the DOS, psychophantic DOS, cannot deny. You know, I don't need occasion, which I'm a force to go to Mandela say, a lot of things, but this time around, is you Kuchineke can now pound. Onye nocha, no drogima. Nyadana, itri quisina jeko. Mana, I aputagija. And the Muamana chiana from them. Manachi has an afone. Yotago. So, ndị niile na-ekwu maka Biafra esomnia anyị emeghị ihe anyị mee mana this time around we need to have a rethink because na unless we egwu unu egwu so unu na-egwu o nwere ndị na-asị so o nwere okwu a na-aga ekwesị si soro ụgbọ na-aga aga. Biafra restoration should be redefined. Biafran territory, Biafra map must be redrawn. We have made that proposal. It has to be redrawn because Biafra of 1967 to 1970 is no longer Biafra of today because the former component nations are not willing to restore that Biafra of 1967 to 1970. And Ikwe Parisi, like I said, Mwesio na mama abuzi part of Nkwe Parisi awa. Aye chechiche kai chechiche. So, otu akosi wede. Biafra, we have to establish that it represents a distinct group based on factors like nationality, ethnicity, and culture. O nwere ihe na-achọ iju unu biko Kedede no ndị Biafra na-represent. This Biafra of 2023. Kedede ndị ha na-represent. Ọ bụ ndị Ibibio, ka ọ bụ ndị Ijo, ka ọ bụ ndị Igbo, ka ọ bụ ndị Efik ka ha na-represent. Onye ọbụla gwa m ịchọkwuo ịbata ka anyị kpanyere nkata. Spencer, we're talking about Igbo land because the self-determination that we are on has its root in Biafra Nigeria war. So we cannot just make a leap, have a leap and start talking about, of course, the focus is Igbo self-determination, but we are Biafrans as well. That's why we talk about Igbo Biafrans for the emancipation of an Igbo nation state. Right. Biafra may need to establish that it represents a distinct group. Kedede this distinct group, this Biafra of 2023, may represent based on factors like nationality. Is Biafra of 2023 representing Ijo nationality today? Is it representing Efik nationality today? Is it representing Ibibio nationality today? Is it representing Anang and others? And is it representing their culture? If it is representing their culture, please tell me, where are the Jaws? Where are the Jaws? Where are they? Tell me where people from Efik are in this present dispensation. Tell me where are people from Anang are, the Anang people. Tell me where they galano. Because actually nkaza ajiju aza. Owukwa na mamara ekwu sigwa na mamara ekwu. And then ị na-ekwu na mamara ekwu inye m alternative. So kedụ ndị Biafra anyị na-azọ represent their culture, their everything. If these people we mentioned are not here, then we need to have everything. Because on one heavy gauge, this thing wega, you are going nowhere with this. That is why I have emphatically said that Biafra restoration continues in its finest form, with other component nations of Biafra going about their own separate quest for self-determination. As it is today, Ndi Ijo are very comfortable in Nigeria. And they are not bothered. Ndi Ibibianai, they are comfortable in Nigeria. Manandi Igbo, it's not the same with them. So how can you then synergize with unwilling people in the quest for self-determination in Nacho, whereby any basis in the Igbo is nebusisi Yamanda and Atunga? So this is where we are. Show me, if you can show me where these people are, a Joefiki Bibio, Anna, a Gala, where they are in this Biafra struggle, tell me, and I will abandon everything. The day I agree and I get restored Biafra is the day I will jettison the idea of Igbo Biafra self-determination, Igbo nation self-determination. Biafra may need to establish that it represents a distinct group based on factors like nationality, I've said that, based on ethnicity, based on culture. Because Biafra, who are Biafrans representing today? Answer that question. Recognition that the right to external self-determination is a contested concept and may require the demonstration of exceptional circumstances that prevent the meaningful exercise of internal self-determination. Of all the former component nations of Biafra, it is only the Igbos that can prove that they are prevented from exercising their right to internal self-determination. We've been clamoring for equity and justice in Nigeria. It is being prevented in so many ways human rights violations, underrepresentation, in so many structural injustice, imbalance, tipped against our people. Our politicians must wake up. The Southeast governors, the state houses of assembly members must take this issue very seriously. Our time is coming when all of them will be chased away. They need to begin to pass Igbo Biafra-friendly laws and begin to ask questions. Kedu ihe kpata eji eme ndị Igbo ihe a na-eme ha? It is only when you begin to ask that question that there will be an answer or a snub from Nigeria. Then you have evidence. I have never seen any senator or House of Rep member on the floor of National Assembly asking this question. Kedu ihe kpata na enyero ndị Igbo the same number of states enyero ndị ọzọ? And obu na enyero higher, nunu ga walk out. You may small protests. I fear. Man, what on I hear in the by name? I'll be very comfortable. So that is why this proposal we made that Ohaneze ndị Igbo took up is a commendable one. And everybody only one for Igbo Biafra must support that move without exhausting the local remedies. You have no justification to separate yourself from Nigeria. It is only when you go and ask the Nigerian state through the elected representatives, justice, you people must rectify this thing. You need her demand. If they don't do it, then you can boldly escalate this whole thing to, for instance, African Union, to, for instance, agencies in United Nations, and even some state governors have the capacity to have partnership with government officials outside. They will raise the issue now on the floor of United Nations. However, there is also a shortcut to that. If the state houses of assembly members can pass a bill on this thing, just like Amotekun bill was passed in the Southwest, there is nothing the Nigerian state will do other than to come for negotiation or Onyobona Abasa. Spencer, I'm telling you, you joined knowing fully. Do you know what was happening in IPOB when I was in IPOB? First of all, before you do this, you need sensitization. That sensitization is being made. But IPOB had gone to a level where they are in position and have the capacity to take over the political control of at least Igbo land. I made proposals. All these things were rejected. This is one of the reasons why Eja Uche first sabotage and this is which is not true. Rather, your supreme lion now can prefers to be taking money from politicians through the back door instead of doing the needful. So, okay, and time naga. Now at the end of the day, you always able whichever for you are part of it. That's no problem. But I know that satisfies my conscience that I did what I should do. I championed the unification and equal representation from South and all that. But in this present dispensation, I have come to the realization of the fact that we no longer need to wait for anybody. Let everybody go their separate ways. So let me, this thing is taking much time now. It's taking much time. I have to move strategically forward because I have to go out now. Biafra will need a substantial level of internal consensus and support among its population if they want to make a successful self-determination claim. A clear majority expressing the desire for secession could strengthen its case. This might be referendum, but at the primary level first. Biafra will have to have substantial internal consensus. So, Eba na Biafra, the old Eastern region, kedede ndị kweta anụ na ha na-azọdo maka this Biafra, if not only ndị Igbo, the Southeast, ndị Igbo nọ na Southeast. So ọ bụrụ that na-enwero internal consensus, there is no agreement. Do you see the reason why I'm telling you that the Biafra of 1967 to 1970 is no longer possible in this present time, in the face of this unwillingness and disagreement to restore it? Rather, Biafra agitation will continue in a different way. The continuation is in each individual nations of Biafra, former nations of Biafra, going about their own variant self-determination. Or hatch internal self-determination, in which case, hatch autonomy, hatch true federalism, hatch confederal arrangement, it's up to them. Or non hatch outside Nigeria, it's up to them. Ndị Igbo, ndị Ibibio, ndị Ijo agara nke ha. Mbosi achọ ịnọkọ ọnụ anọkọ ọnụ. Shame on all of you. But the good thing about this whole thing is, ọ bụrụ na unu nwachọ, ọsị na-asị egbu Chizoba Biafra, ọ bụrụ na ịbụ, ọ bụrụ na amụsị gị ike, iwepụta your picture, wepụta afa gị, etu am si ekwu okwu, i challenge him no. My issue, threat in a issue. I teach a lesson. So, there is no internal consensus as we speak today. Therefore, it is suicidal for the Igbos of the Southeast, Igbo Biafrans, to continue to wait for our brothers till whatever decade they will wake up. If we continue to do that, all of us will die. Anyway, ochie. So that is why Igbos will focus. Igbo Biafra self-determination. Ndi Igbo without their self-determination, it is part and parcel of Biafra because they are members of Biafra nation. In fact, they have, they led the quest for Biafra. So I don't know where somebody will come up and say Sabo, Sabo, and all that. Oh, go on, mega Sabo. Go on, I chon din I chorogi. Go on, I put every day. I see no Monday na put a while and then coffee na kelebo no bubora na amaro maybe hana boga self. Now the south. Meanwhile, nothing is happening there. You are now see the good thing, Bona. You people must come back to this and already you know ekucha Biafra ebido maka okwu Biafra emecha eweri ndị Igbo where end there. Tell me where you are all operating. So something is fundamentally flawed on the framework of Biafra as it is, because you cannot make a successful self-determination claim even within Nigeria and outside until you define the territory, until you define where you are seeking self-determination for. As it is today, you cannot boldly and successfully claim that you are seeking self-determination for the Ijaw nation under Biafra, or to Efik nation, under Biafra, because they have been rejecting it. The other day they went to court and said that they are not part of Biafra. What else do you want? And then when they said that, nobody was even, challenging it. What are we talking about? So what are we talking about? Weapon is sentiment. Weapon is sentiment. And do the right thing. Kogoa ndiba inoba kembo wabido. Kogalo ekwanarwai also. Our people have died enough. The only compensation is for the Igbo Biafrans to focus on Igbo Biafra territory, the Southeast, and either seek greater autonomy within Nigeria, fight against injustice in Nigeria, or step out of Nigeria, in which case, the independence. But for you to do this, you have to have justifiable reasons, documented reasons. That is why I have always told our people, document, take pictures of all the injustices that are being heaped against our people. And they keep saying, oh, I told them to go and fight the army. Which MFO told us to go, when you fight and army. In Ghana on a radio. And yet, oh, they are killing also. Meanwhile, they now organize these protests. Coordinators, Chidebe Ondi, and all the African reps. Now, yeah. Bye. And they had responsible to the DOS, not me. Because now the Waha, everything now I got reports to DOS more to him, not me. So, okay, this is handle mother now, for God's sake. Most times I was on radio because I have to do broadcasts. In doing broadcasts, somebody will call in and say, oh, they are killing us. Sometimes I'm Muhammad Nano protest. So, Henry Chimezie, I have seen what you are saying. Okay, I will come back to it. So, gini kanako ihenka. Henry Chimezie say, this Biafra issue is dead and buried, and Ojukwu legacy must be killed and jettisoned and not passed on the next generation. My brother, I don't think that you are true to yourself to an extent. If Biafra is dead and buried, how about Nigeria? Meanwhile, you are supposed to be a core Biafran in the real sense of it. And you're telling me Biafra is dead and buried. Is it because the wind appears to be blowing more, tilting more towards the side of Nigeria? You have a temporary relief. Makaya kanabia. Aya na abia na ani Igbo ga-emetụ gị nwa metụ ụmụ gị. So wrap on with this sentiment, especially again Nigerian alcohol, Biafra, and the rest of it. If Biafra is a fraud, what is Nigeria? Nigeria is a mega fraud. Because Nigeria is an adopted name. The same way Biafra was an adopted name. More importantly, it is unfortunate that some of you are saying we should forget about it. So you forget about millions of your kith and kin that died unjustly. We had a say, Siagwana mother, the one on no, or unu na amaro, ihunu geku, the chikwan on maka, echicha unu na eche, o maka akwo. Mana, nkebe eziokwu na nwere ihunu game. Biafra has come to stay. It is a historical fact that there was a country called Biafra. Nigeria was imposed on so many nations as it is today. So, I don't know the justification you have to be elevating Nigeria. Of course, Nigeria is a sovereign state, but you cannot, in all good conscience, convince yourself that what you're saying is right. You people have gone ahead and said, Ojukwu did this, Ojukwu did that. What do you expect Ojukwu as the governor of the Eastern region to do when his people were being killed? And more importantly, you want to see no Ojukwu Amenka. Historically, Enwelo, the Eastern Constitutive Assembly and Council of Chiefs and something like that. Let me get the right name. These people were the people having meetings with Ojukwu. Ojukwu. So, the claim unu na-eme na ọ bụ Igbo's cause of the war. As far as I'm concerned, what happened was a military affair. If Igbo military officers went and killed northern military officers and politicians, expectedly, the northerners, if they want revenge, should go about targeting Igbo military officers in the army, rather than going to kill women, children, innocent people, civilians, massacre them in cold blood. And you people are there justifying the nonsense. And most of you were not born. You didn't witness the war. And you people are the one writing history for those, for protagonists of the war. Most of them are not talking. But all one came most of us after the war. But all one the history of Biafra war today. And you're talking authoritatively. It is not about sentiment. It is about facts. Na issue of Biafra cannot be obliterated. So, Biafra will need to uphold human rights and rule of law, showing that it can provide a just and stable environment for its citizens. If Biafra is going to be an independent nation, Biafra will have to lead by example. That is why I got very angry with these punk IPOB, ESN, Nongo men, Biafra Republic government in exile. Your human rights record is at all-time low because you are not conducting yourselves as people who are seeking for self-determination. You cannot turn around and begin to massacre and slaughter and butcher your own people just to blame the enemy. That is an abomination to many. And that is why I said, I will not keep quiet. It is an abomination to many. I've never seen that in my life. And none of you will be allowed to benefit from your wrongs. Obona, ndị mmadụ agatara na aja mmụọ na-achị ya n'Igbo ga na-eso unu ncha. Maka ahụ bụ ahụ. A na-eme ka a na-eme hapụta spend ego na justify abomination. Biko unu na-eme after your propaganda ka mbagharụ ka ogini. Kama m ga-abagharụ unu nwa abagharụ. How can? Yeah, this reminds me of the biblical Sadducees and Pharisees. A na-atụ asị, na-eme mpụ, na-pretend. Anyị nwakwuo, anyị na-akụtọkwa ndị pastors na ha na-use Bible na-ekwutọsị, mana anyị na-IPOB ka mfụ. Ebe a supreme lion Nnamdi Kanu ga-eji ofu iberibe ọnụ, ofu one side of his mouth praying, jiri nke ọzọ na-asị asị. So the same way, the so-called pastors use Bible, Wariando mad, ka ejikwa use Bible na IPOB, the Old Testament. Okay, ka na-akọdi ya. Nsogbu ụdị o, mana ka na-aga. Is sad. So, the human rights record of Biafra agitators is nothing to write home about. That is why the Biafra Restoration Project has been criminalized, and it will take a long, long time for it to be undone. There was never a place called Biafra within the Nigerian province. Let me tell you something. See, when ignorance speaks, the discerning mind takes notice. There was never a Biafra within Nigerian province. Just imagine what you're talking about. The old Eastern region adopted the name Biafra. There's nothing you can do about it. And when a people decide to answer any name, there's nothing you can do about it. The same way Nigeria was imposed on nations under its control today. So Nigeria is an adopted name. Before Nigeria, there was Igbo nation, there was Ijo nation, there was Efik, there was Anang. There were so many nations under Nigeria today. So these nations predate Nigeria. Before 1960, or rather before amalgamation, where were our forefathers? Before Nigeria came into existence, we had our communities. So what are you talking about? So you have no justification to talk down on Biafra. And if Biafra is a fraud, Nigeria is a mega fraud. This is a senseless argument. Spencer, can you tell me how Biafra was used to deceive our people? If Biafra was used to deceive our people, then Nigeria was used to deceive our people as well. So how about that? The point is that you people are making unguarded statements without defending it. If Biafra was used to deceive our people, how come the entire eastern region as it was then rose up to defend themselves, except towards the end? And then some of us, we are not born during Biafra. You, Spencer, saying this, you're just doing this for political expedience. You cannot stop the issue of Biafra. It's a fact, and it's a fact. However, because Biafra, Biafra was a fraud, why didn't you stop it at the time? You would have stopped it about fraud. So something you don't have control over, you have nothing to do about it. That thing is bigger than you and bigger than myself. So can I see the eba pota? Can I see that place, pota? So if Biafra cannot observe the rule of law and human rights and provide just and stable environment for her citizens, then there is no need fighting for the Biafra. And on the IPOB, they have destroyed everything. You need a lot of reparation to get things right. And in doing that, the map of Biafra has to be redrawn because the framework is wrong as it is. If it was right before, the unwillingness of the former nations have made it invalid today. Because also for 100 years, Obo agreement when it be just like that. And it is now every time. Now, the question now is, how does Biafra define its population in terms of being a definable group that is denied access to pursue their development or developmental aspirations within Nigerian state? Because can you define the Biafran population in terms of a definable group? Question is, does Biafra, as it is today, qualify as a people? Because if they don't qualify as a people, then they don't have the right to self-determination. Obona, the old eastern region as it was, cannot together, then they will be regarded as a people because they are fighting for the same goal. They have multicultural alignment and they have the same historical experience. But today, that is not the case again. As a result of the unwillingness of our brothers in South. They don't want to be part of it. So, so you can't define Biafra as the Biafran population today as a definable group. The only way that will be possible is for each component nation to go their separate way. Just like we have Igbo Biafrans today. The Igbo Biafrans will qualify as a people because they are a definable group. They have a defined territory. And they have a population that you can point at. Juxtapose it with Biafra as it was in 1967 to 1970 of today. You find out that Omoronde Gabowa na how Biafrans. Kwetana na aga restore Biafra. Kedi hani kuya? Kagwa no wa izi okun. So Biafra restoration continues in its finest form. And that will mean that the Biafra territory will be reduced. Reduction in territory does not invalidate the argument. So, when you mal asunya swani ikwe, akwana ase swanane. How does Biafra ensure that its pursuit of self-determination does not violate the guidelines of the General Assembly Resolution 2625 concerning the territorial integrity or political unity of Nigeria. The present Biafra agitation will make sure that the territorial integrity of Nigeria is not violated in that sense, as long as Nigeria is conducting herself according to the principle of equal rights without discriminating against a section of the population. The Biafra of 1967 project cannot work today because it is not the whole of Biafra that is being oppressed. The most oppressed people in Biafra region today are the Igbos. Therefore, the Igbos have the right to seek for either internal or external self-determination. And if they bring themselves together, they are going to make it. Ihe abụrụ ihe ọgụ na mma kịta. O nwere ihe a na-akpọ democratic secession. Ọ bụrụ na the state houses of assembly na ala Igbo, Enugu, Ebonyi, Imo, Anambra, Abia, if they can pass a bill, coordinated bill, and say, this is what we want, the Nigerian state is discriminating against us. We want to be autonomous. Or what do you hear Nigeria game? I can assure you that. The National Assembly can pass a law and say, this thing is not acceptable and things like that. But you have the assembly of the people, democratically elected, that pass this bill. What do you have game? The only thing they will come for negotiation. Or decide that after all, Nigeria can. And the decision is a product of democratic process. Because each another option, the legitimization and the rest of it. For you to fight, you must have the capacity to bring Nigeria to her knees, or to such an extent that you disable them, that they will come for negotiation and allow you to separate without the consent of the parent state, either by force or otherwise. The members of the international community, the United Nations, will not recognize an independent state. I give you example. Somaliland, for instance, is a de facto state, and they are in the limbo for a long time. Palestine, happy Charlie, this is an if you fight a war without winning the parent state, you're not going to be recognized. Unless that parent state is forced to accept that, okay, you can go. Turkish, Republic of Northern Cyprus, something like that. They are fought and they are not recognized. They are still in the limbo today. There are so many others, not as de facto states, but they are not able because they use aggression and they were not able to subdue the parent state. So, if you know that you're going to fight Nigeria, make sure that you have the capacity and the capability to bring Nigeria to her knees. Otherwise, the only option is to do it democratically by getting the will of the people to act on behalf of the cause. And we have a way here. We have a way. If the whole of the Southeast Assembly, State Houses of Assembly, we come together and pass a coordinated bill, it's just a matter of time. But let that process start. And I'm glad that the Southeast governors and mainly Johannes and Igbo are taking some action. Action that you're taking does not mean that you will win. You need to have evidence that you took that action. and that it was rejected, or that the system does not allow it, it will be on record that Nigeria is not willing to resolve this issue. You need to participate in an election so that Nigeria will rig it and not allow you. You have evidence that Nigeria does not want your people to participate at a certain level in government. That is discrimination. If you now begin to fight, you have a justification. But that particular issue will have to be handled by the elected representatives. Now, why can't Igbo Biafra agitators work towards electing people in Igbo land? Why can't? Why can't they do that? Because they have the capacity. It's just about getting themselves together. I'm busy here, so don't come in. So, these are the things. Emecha uzunwa iwusigoli since. Mana nke beziokwu bụ na emecha isaida na unu nụrụ ihe a na-ekwu mee etu esikwe. O unu na-agba round, na-ezu oshi na-agba ama, na-ebesisi ụmụ Igbo isi until you all fizzle away. Because you're going nowhere. I'm telling you. Mana some of you guy men among you, hey, ha ejigo style na abata obere. Ekwukata maka Biafra, ebido with Biafra. Aya emechie weli ndị Igbo we emechie. Ina foro ni ha na-ekwu na ọdanawago. Mana hapụ n'ụnụ mkpako, mee n'ụnụ the right thing. I am waiting for you to hear what you have achieved since MK is in police custody. But your MK said that they're going to restore Biafra 2 or 3 times in 2020, even before 2020. Ana agwa anyị ekwu na mapụwa na na-ekwu n'anya sisi. Ekwu na enweta Biafra na ọwụ na enweta Biafra na 2020. Si ma no Elohim send there. 2020 ga after December, the Jewish group pụtasị na 2020 eruro na no Jewish calendar ka na operate no na April. Etinye is it 40-day fasting? After 40-day fasting, etinye 100 and how many 100 and here fasting? Mechakwa Jewish calendar ga enwetaro Biafra. So onaboze obu ajụjụ na-ajụ bụ gị nwa kwesịrị ezi maka unu nwa bụ hypocrites. This Old Testament na unu ukwu embrace ike agwụkwa. Well, what to see everything. What are we talking about? And I say, and me what a Biafra moon criminalize go Biafra. The worst thing we may able to cross the red line of beginning to slaughter and behead your fellow Igbo brothers and sisters. Ndala, never conscience. If I were you people, I wouldn't be talking. Men there. Man don't sponsor the killings. Hoping to blame the Fulani herdsmen. We know that Fulani herdsmen are bam. Manaima, Mamba Fulani herdsmen are from Kunwaneme. Unubualo. And I need Wama happen. Anybody I cared in here. Nkem meta kambu, nkonyo zo meta yapu. Masiebu yamu nkonyo zo meta. Dala. Before, why didn't you agree to this fact? I made this proposal, but email proposal, Ajuna may take it. Can you hear na chokampu? Email can send in a female BCN. Get your reviews argument. Next time in week, when you can say you kukuri here. I mean, so many things. You don't know what is going on. But anyway, I don't have anything to defend. I don't need to. I don't need validation. But here now, if I told self, I want to make this thing before. So say happy, huh? Mazo Ben was asking whether this is live. This is a live broadcast now. But I have a lot of things to say. And I want to say, MHS and court, short. So, considering the Badinta Commission's perspective, does Biafra believe its population, based on nationality, ethnicity, and culture, can be considered as a people? Do you see? There are certain criteria you have to, or threshold you have to meet for you to even argue successfully on issue of self-determination. You have to qualify as a people. If you are not a people, yes, we understand it, but you must have to qualify as a people for the purposes of self-determination. You need to have one of the criteria is your culture, your language, your belief system, your territory, and then the agreement among you people to fight for the cause, a particular cause. You cannot say it of Biafra of today, where ndị Ijo na-akọwa ahụ bandazụ, ndị Ibibio na-akọwa ahụ bandazụ, ndị Efik na-akọwa ahụ bandazụ. So ndị Igbo nọ na-ekwu okwu. I will bet randomly, because ekwesịrị ịhazi ihe ọfụma. Mana ndị filu na ha bụ ọkachamara ndị otu Nnamdi Kanu. Ọ chọghị ịnụ ihe mmadụ na-ekwu. So, do you people qualify as a people? The truth is that the present structure or the way the Biafra of today is, they don't qualify as a people because they are not one people. And their name also. But Igbo Biafrans, Igbos qualify as a people because they believe in one thing. They have homogeneous culture. They have homogeneous language and dialect. Ndị Ijo will qualify as a people. But the Igbo ndị Efik qualify as a people. But the Igbo ndị niile under Biafra, that would be a disaster. Because they are not one people as such. So to akosede, obia ba na-ekwu ha, odoka agasị na ọ nwere ihe ọzọ. Eziokwu Chineke ka na agwa unu. Afọ m echi o. Come on, I'm talking about this based on how do we say it? Based on international best practice. Can Biafra provide evidence of consistent and flagrant human rights violations, underrepresentation or lack of representation in a manner that makes remedial secession a valid choice for them? So, when we are talking about it, you have to go back to the basics. Who are the Biafrans fighting for restoration of Biafra today? So, you cannot, if you are going as Biafrans of 1967 to 1970, you cannot, for instance, provide consistent evidence of human rights violation of underrepresentation. The South are not underrepresented. They have 6 states. So you can't say no the whole of Biafra because some people are enjoying themselves in that sense and others are under subjugation, the Southeast. So the treatment is not uniform. Therefore, you cannot successfully make an argument in that sense. Amana emegbu ndị Igbo na-agba egbe n'ala Igbo. Apụa na-eme party na Ijo, na-eme party na Efik, na-eme party na ihe. It will not work. Do you see why the Biafra framework as it is today will not serve us better? Except Mondo Obuna emebe their own. Or except not everybody have their own. Given the African Commission on Human and People's Rights decision in Katangani's people versus Zaire, does Biafra believe it can produce concrete evidence of human rights violations to the degree that challenges the Nigeria's territorial integrity? In that case, where that was the first African self-determination case by the African Commission, the Katanganese People's Congress, it was an oil-rich zone in Zaire. Then, I think Congo now. So these people wanted to, in fact, the Katanga made themselves before Biafra. After independence, after Hamilton independence, the Katanga wanted to separate from Zaire. So this case came to African Commission. And then the African Commission now said that unless there is concrete evidence that the Katanganese people
and their human rights were being violated by the Zaire government. They are saying Congo now also. That, and they are underrepresented in government, or that they are they are not represented in government by Zaire. And to such an extent that the territorial integrity of Zaire is called into question. That this Katanganese People's Congress, the Katanganese people, that they have the option of exercising their right to self-determination through other means, like regional arrangement, like autonomy, like confederal arrangement. So this particular case has it that even though you cannot violate territorial integrity of any country, it will be dependent on if that particular country conducts herself according to the principle of equal rights. This is also the principle in friendly relations that also talk about territorial integrity. Unless a country is conducting itself according to principle of equal right and representing all of our population without discrimination, that country, that population being victimized, whether ethnic group or have right to exercise their right to self-determination up to secession if they are able and willing to do so. So that is the case, one of the cases that will be guiding the Biafra case or any part of Biafra. If they don't come into within the equation, then forget it. That is one of the basics. When I measure your argument. And then, if you are being oppressed within that country, even as you're doing it, you have to exhaust all the local remedies. For instance, you people are being discriminated and excluded in government. Have you gone to court? Have you raised the issue at the National Assembly and asked the Nigerian government why? If you haven't done this, and I mean, my battery is down. If you haven't done this, I have to remove this. My voice is going to be low now. I don't know whether anybody's hearing me, but I have to. If you haven't done this, then you have no justification to seek for external self-determination. So this is the question that is being applied to Biafra case. Given the commission, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights decision in the Katanganese People's Congress versus Zaire case, does Biafra believe it can produce concrete evidence of rights violations to a degree that challenges Nigeria's territorial integrity? In fact, the threshold is even difficult, but it will be in the neighborhood of the crime or human rights abuses by the Nigerian state and her officials against the population should be in the neighborhood of crime, up to the threshold of crime against humanity and genocide. So the question bụ, tata na anọkọta ndị army awụchie, even though na the reason why the army is coming sometimes bụ alụ ndị IPONC IPOB or non-government ESN, the Republic government in exile has been committing against ordinary people. Back then, 2012, 2013, up until 2020, there were justifiable reasons for people to push for the final quest. So, apart from this thing, the army na-abịa, ọ bụrụ na ọsọsọ n'ala Igbo ma ọ bụ sọsọ na-ejọ ka a na-eme ihe a na-egbusisi ndị mmadụ, mana ọ nara eme n'other part of Biafra, then it will be difficult for Biafra case to be proved. And then more so, when ndị gị na ha na-eme ihe kịta achọrọ kwudo ha achọrọ ịma, then it makes the Biafra case weak in the way we framed it. That is why we must not continue to kweparisi. Intelligent, smart people must not shy away when the damn step is changing. You have to change your plan, but not losing sight of your goal. So it is very important that the Biafra Restoration Project I don't even know whether this thing is talking or not. That the Biafra Restoration Project is redesigned. Something is wrong with this thing. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to finish now. Very important. So we need to get all these things together. There are so many things I have to say, but this is just a preamble. So taking into account all this is why the issue of Igbo Biafra nationalist movement came into the equation for the emancipation of an Igbo nation state. It's not or something like that. You have a proposal. Every serious self-determination group from Igbo Biafra territory should think twice about what is going on. Because this thing is from Uchemefo and all that. Then you keep running around in circles. And let's see where it will end. Finally. And finally. Ana m ekene onye ọbụla. Ana m asịkwa udo dịrị ndị chọrọ udo. Ndị na-achọrọ udo. Ha na-akụrịsị onwe ha. Like ndị be anyị na-ekwu. Nyawa ọkụkọ nọ na ngige na-agba egwu maka ngige na-agba egwu. Ngige nọkwa n'egwu. Ịghọtago? So, ana m asịkwa anya gaziri onye ọbụla. Nke onye metakwa anya buru. Nke Uchemefo meta anya buru. Mana Uchemefo ebunye n'onye ọzọ nke o meta. Etu a ka ọ dịkwa. Ndụ mmiri ndụ azụ. Onye biri ibi ebiri. Ịghọtago? Ọ ya bụ na ya bụ eje agha bụ ya bụ isi ije. Ana m asị ya gazienụ. Ndewo.